Marcus Thompson's alarm didn't go off because the power had gone out again. Third time this month in Building 47 of the Riverside Apartments, Marcus knew exactly why. The electrical system was from 1987, and the landlord, whoever they were, didn't give a damn about fixing it. He woke up at 1:47 a.m. in a panic, his heart hammering against his ribs as he grabbed his phone off the nightstand. His shift at Metro Distribution started at 2 ser, and he was 20 minutes away. His dark brown fingers fumbled with his work boots in the darkness, the only light coming from the street lamps filtering through the thin curtains of his ground-floor apartment. "Daddy?" A small voice came from the doorway. Marcus looked up to see Zara standing there in her purple pajamas, her two puffs slightly lopsided from sleep, clutching her stuffed elephant. Behind her, Amara appeared, identical except for the yellow pajamas and the teddy bear. "Hey, baby girls, what are you doing?" "The lights went out," Amara said, her voice trembling slightly. "We got scared." Marcus crossed the room and knelt in front of them, pulling both girls into his arms. Their brown skin was warm against his, and he could feel their small hearts beating fast. "It's okay. Just the power being silly again. Nothing to be scared of." "Are you going to work?" Zara asked. "Yeah, baby, I'm late, but Mrs. Chen upstairs is going to come down and stay with you, remember?" Both girls nodded, but neither looked happy about it. They'd been through this routine 100 times since their mother died 2 years ago. Cancer. Aggressive. Fast. Gone before Marcus even understood what was happening. "I'll be home by noon," he said, kissing each of their foreheads. "And then we'll make pancakes and watch that movie you've been asking about, okay?" If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The one with the princess who builds things? Amara's eyes lit up. That's the one. Mrs. Chen knocked softly on the door 3 minutes later, her elderly face creased with concern. "Power's out in the whole building again," she said in her accented English. "Third time. The landlord needs to fix this." "I know, Mrs. Chen. Thank you for watching them." "Always, Marcus. You're a good boy. Your girls are angels." Marcus grabbed his work jacket and his thermos of now lukewarm coffee. He was out the door by 1:53, jogging toward his truck, a 2004 Ford F-150 with 240,000 miles and a passenger door that didn't open from the outside. The truck started on the third try. Small mercies. He pulled out of the parking lot of Riverside Apartments, a sprawling complex of 6 buildings that used to be decent back in the 90s but had fallen into slow decay. Broken playground equipment. Cracked parking lot. That electrical system that kept failing. The rent was cheap, though. $870 a month for a 2-bedroom, and in this city. That was basically a miracle. Marcus was 2 months behind. Not because he wasn't working. He worked 50-hour weeks at the warehouse moving boxes and operating forklifts and doing whatever overtime they'd give him. But the medical bills from his wife's final months hadn't stopped coming, and daycare for 2 kids cost more than his rent. And last month, Zara needed her inhaler refilled and his insurance didn't cover the full cost. He'd gotten the notice last week. Yellow paper slipped under his door. Notice. Rent payment overdue. Please remit $1,850 by December 15th or vacate premises. December 15th was in 5 days. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter and pushed the thought away. He'd figure it out. He always figured it out. The warehouse was on the industrial east side, a massive concrete building that operated 24/7. Marcus clocked in at 2:11 and his supervisor, Ray Martinez, gave him a look. "Cutting it close, Thompson." Power went out. Alarm didn't go off. Ray softened slightly. "You good?" "Yeah, I'm good." "All right, loading dock 3. We got a double shipment coming in." Marcus worked. That's what he did. He moved pallets and scanned barcodes and loaded trucks. His body ached, his back, his knees, his shoulders, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant spiraling into the fear that lived just beneath the surface of everything he did. What if he lost the apartment? Where would they go? His mother lived 3 states away in a 1-bedroom. His wife's parents had made it clear after the funeral they thought he couldn't handle raising the girls alone. And the shelters. God, he couldn't do that to Zara and Amara. So, he worked. At 11:47 p.m., his shift ended. Marcus clocked out, grabbed his thermos, and headed for the truck. The night air was cold, biting through his jacket. December in the city meant temperatures in the low 30s, and his truck's heater had stopped working 2 weeks ago. He was 10 minutes from home when he saw her. The car was pulled onto the shoulder of Route 9, a stretch of road that cut through an industrial area most people avoided after dark. It was a sleek silver Mercedes, hazard lights blinking weakly, the front right tire completely flat. And, standing next to it, arms wrapped around herself, was a black woman in a long camel coat and heels, looking absolutely terrified. Marcus's foot hovered over the gas pedal. He should keep going. It was almost midnight. He was exhausted. The girls were waiting. Mrs. Chen had to get home. But the woman looked scared. Really scared. And Marcus's father had raised him better than to leave someone stranded on a dark road at night. He slowed the truck and pulled over about 20 feet ahead of her car. He put on his hazards, grabbed the flashlight from his glove compartment, and stepped out slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Ma'am," he called out, "you okay?" The woman turned toward him, and even in the dim light, he could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she took a step back. "I don't want any trouble," she said quickly. Her voice was cultured, professional, but edged with fear. "No trouble," Marcus said, stopping several feet away. "Just saw you pulled over. Looks like you got a flat." "My phone's dead," she said. "I've been here for 40 minutes. No one stopped." Marcus didn't blame them. This wasn't exactly a neighborhood where people pulled over to help strangers. "Do you have a spare?" Marcus asked. The woman blinked. I think so. In the trunk. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." Marcus walked slowly to the trunk, moving in a way that he hoped didn't seem threatening. She popped it from inside the car, and he lifted the lid. Sure enough, there was a spare tire and a jack. "You're in luck," Marcus said. "I can change this for you. Take about 15 minutes." The woman stepped closer, her brown face illuminated by his flashlight. She had natural hair pulled back in a low bun, and her eyes were red-rimmed like she'd been crying. "You'd do that?" "Yes, ma'am." "Why?" Marcus looked at her, surprised by the question. "Because you need help." Something in her expression cracked. "I can pay you." "Don't need payment." "Please, let me give you something." Marcus shook his head. "Just tell me your name." "I'm Marcus." She hesitated. "Simone." "Nice to meet you, Simone. Let me get this tire changed so you can get home safe." He worked quickly, his hands moving with practiced confidence. He'd learned basic car maintenance from his father and had been fixing his own truck for years because mechanics were expensive. The cold bit at his fingers and his back protested when he crouched down, but he ignored it. Simone stood a few feet away, watching him. After a few minutes, she spoke. "Thank you for stopping. I know it's late." "No problem." Most people wouldn't have. Marcus didn't respond to that. He just kept working. "Do you have a family?" Simone asked. "2 daughters, twins. They're 7. "You're a single father?" Marcus paused for just a second. "Yeah. Their mom passed away 2 years ago." "I'm sorry." "Me too." The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Just 2 people existing in the same space, connected by circumstance. "I lost my husband 6 months ago," Simone said quietly. Marcus looked up at her. "I'm sorry." "Car accident. He was coming home from work and someone ran a red light." "That's rough." Simone wrapped her arms tighter around herself. "I don't know why I'm telling you this. I don't usually—" She stopped. "I haven't talked about it with anyone." Not really. Marcus tightened the last lug nut and stood up, wiping his hands on his jeans. Sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers. Simone laughed, but it was a sad sound. Maybe. He lowered the car off the jack and tested the tire. You're all set. Should get you home. Thank you. Simone reached into her purse. Please let me. I don't want your money, Marcus said gently. Just get home safe, okay? Simone looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, You're a good person, Marcus. Just trying to do it right. She got into her car, and Marcus watched her pull back onto the road. Her taillights disappeared into the darkness, and he stood there for a moment, feeling the cold seep through his jacket. Then he got back in his truck and drove home. Mrs. Chen was asleep on the couch when he walked in at 12:34 a.m. Marcus gently woke her, thanked her profusely, and paid her the $20 he'd budgeted for the night. He checked on the girls. They were both asleep in their shared bedroom, curled up together like puppies. Zara's arm was thrown over Amara's waist, and Amara's face was pressed into her sister's shoulder. Marcus stood in the doorway and just looked at them. His whole world in one room. He thought about the rent notice, about the 5 days he had left, about the woman he'd helped on the side of the road, and then he thought about how he was going to make pancakes in the morning and watch a movie with his girls, and maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to keep him going for one more day. He went to his own room, set his alarm for 8:01 a.m., and fell asleep the second his head hit the pillow. He didn't dream. He was too tired to dream. But somewhere across the city, Simone Price sat in the study of her deceased husband's mansion, staring at a stack of property files she'd inherited along with his real estate empire. Marcus woke to the sound of giggling. He opened his eyes to find Zara and Amara standing beside his bed, already dressed in mismatched outfits they'd clearly picked out themselves. Zara wore a purple shirt with orange leggings. Amara had on a yellow dress over blue jeans. "Morning, Daddy," they said in unison, then dissolved into giggles. Marcus groaned and reached for his phone. 18:47 a.m. He'd overslept through his alarm. "Why didn't you wake me earlier?" "We wanted to surprise you," Zara said. "We already had cereal." Marcus sat up, his back protesting. "You did?" Amara nodded proudly. "And we didn't spill anything. Well, Zara spilled a little. Did not. Did too." Marcus smiled despite himself. Okay. Thank you for being so responsible. Now who wants pancakes?" Both girls cheered. They spent the morning in the small kitchen, Marcus flipping pancakes while the girls argued over whether chocolate chips or blueberries were better. He let them have both. Why not? It was Saturday, and moments like this, normal, easy, full of laughter, were what kept him going. After breakfast, they settled on the couch to watch the movie. The girls curled up on either side of him, warm and content, and Marcus felt that familiar ache in his chest, the one that reminded him Sarah should be here, that she should be the one making pancakes and settling disputes over fruit versus chocolate. But she wasn't here, and he was doing his best. His phone buzzed halfway, through the movie. A text from Ray. "Ray, hate to do this on your day off, but we need someone for Sunday overnight. Time and a half. You interested?" Marcus stared at the message. Time and a half meant he could get caught up on rent, maybe even get ahead a little. But Sunday overnight meant leaving the girls with Mrs. Chen again. It meant missing their morning routine. He typed back, "I'm in." "Ray, you're a lifesaver. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The girls didn't notice him texting. They were absorbed in the movie, laughing at the funny parts, gasping at the dramatic moments. Marcus pulled them closer and tried to focus on the screen. That afternoon, Marcus took the girls to the playground at Riverside. It was run down. The swings had rust on the chains, the slide had a crack down the middle, and the sandbox was more weeds than sand. But the girls didn't care. They ran straight for the swings. Marcus pushed them, watching them fly higher and higher, their laughter cutting through the cold December air. "Higher, Daddy," Amara shouted. "You're going to fly away," Marcus teased. "Good, I want to touch the clouds." Other families were scattered around the playground. Marcus recognized most of them: single mothers, elderly grandparents raising grandchildren, young couples struggling to make ends meet. Riverside wasn't the kind of place people chose to live. It was the place you ended up when you were running out of options. Mrs. Chen appeared with her grandson, a shy 8-year-old named Wei who immediately gravitated toward the monkey bars. "Marcus," Mrs. Chen said, settling onto the bench beside him. "You hear about the meeting?" "What meeting?" "Building manager posted notice this morning. Mandatory tenant meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m. in the community room. Says the owner is coming." Marcus frowned. "The owner? I didn't even know there was an owner. Thought it was some property management company." Mrs. Chen shook her head. "Used to be owned by a man named Richard Price, big real estate developer. But he died earlier this year, and now his wife owns everything." Something cold slid down Marcus's spine. His wife? That's what the notice said. Simone Price. Marcus's world tilted. Simone. The woman from last night. The woman whose tire he'd changed at midnight on Route 9. She owned his building. She was his landlord. "Marcus, you okay?" Mrs. Chen was looking at him with concern. "Yeah," he managed. "Yeah, I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. His mind was racing. Had she known who he was? No. He'd never told her his last name. Never mentioned where he lived. She couldn't have known. But now she did. Or she would, once she saw him at the meeting tomorrow. "They say she's selling," Mrs. Chen continued. "Selling all the buildings. Some big developer wants to tear them down and build luxury condos." Marcus felt sick. "Where did you hear that?" "Building manager told Mr. Johnson on the 3rd floor. Said we'd all have 90 days to relocate once the sale goes through." 90 days. Marcus couldn't afford to move. Couldn't afford first and last month's rent somewhere else. Couldn't afford a security deposit. "Daddy, watch this," Zara called out, hanging upside down from the monkey bars. Marcus forced a smile. "I see you, baby. Be careful." But inside, he was spiraling. That night, after the girls were in bed, Marcus sat at his small kitchen table with his laptop open. He Googled Simone Price. The results came up immediately. Simone Price, 33, inherits $200 million real estate empire. After husband's death. There was a photo. It was her. Same face, same eyes, but in the photo she looked polished and distant. Nothing like the frightened woman on the side of the road. Marcus clicked through the articles. Richard Price had been a major player in real estate development. When he died, everything went to Simone, his wife of 5 years. But according to the articles, she'd never been involved in the business. She'd been a nonprofit director before they met, running programs for homeless youth. One article from 3 weeks ago caught his attention. Price properties under pressure. Widow faces decision on affordable housing portfolio. Marcus read through it. Apparently, Richard Price had owned several older apartment complexes across the city, Riverside included, that he'd kept as affordable housing. But his business partner, a man named Vincent Cole, was pushing Simone to sell them to a developer named Meridian Group. The Meridian Group specialized in urban renewal, which was code for tear down old buildings, build expensive condos, push out the poor people. Marcus closed the laptop and put his head in his hands. The woman he'd helped last night, the woman he'd felt sorry for, the woman who'd seemed so lost and vulnerable, held his family's future in her hands, and she probably had no idea. Sunday came too fast. Marcus spent the morning with the girls trying to act normal. They went to the corner store for snacks, played card games at the kitchen table, and Marcus helped them with the homework they'd been putting off. At 1:45 p.m. he walked them down to Mrs. Chen's apartment. The tenant meeting was in 15 minutes, and he didn't want the girls anywhere near it. Whatever was about to happen, they didn't need to see their father panicking. "Be good for Mrs. Chen," he said, kissing their foreheads. "Are you going to the meeting?" Zara asked. "Yeah, baby." "Is it about the lights going out?" Marcus's chest tightened. "Maybe. Don't worry about it, okay?" The community room was in Building 1, a drafty space with fluorescent lights and folding chairs set up in rows. By the time Marcus arrived, at least 50 people were already there. More were filing in. He found a seat near the back and waited. At 2:07 p.m., the door opened and 3 people walked in. The first was Gerald Moss, the building manager, a tired-looking white man in his 50s who always seemed one complaint away from quitting. The second was a man in an expensive suit, mid-40s, white, with the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. And the third was Simone. She was dressed in a charcoal blazer and black slacks, her natural hair pulled back, her face carefully neutral. Professional. Distant. Nothing like the woman who'd stood on the side of Route 9 looking terrified. Her eyes swept the room, and for just a second, less than a second, they landed on Marcus. He watched her freeze, watched recognition flash across her face, watched her recover almost instantly, her expression smoothing back into professional neutrality. But he'd seen it. She knew. Gerald Moss stepped forward and cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming. I know this is short notice. I'd like to introduce Simone Price, the owner of Riverside Apartments, and Vincent Cole, her business partner." Vincent Cole, the man in the suit, nodded at the crowd like he was doing them a favor by being there. Simone didn't speak. She just stood there, her hands clasped in front of her. "Mrs. Price has an announcement," Gerald continued. "Vincent?" Vincent Cole stepped forward with that politician's smile. "Thank you all for being here. I'll get right to it. As many of you know, these buildings are aging. They require significant investment to bring them up to code. Mrs. Price and I have been working on a solution that we believe benefits everyone." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. "We've received an offer from the Meridian Group to purchase all 6 Riverside buildings. The sale would allow Mrs. Price to divest from a struggling asset, and Meridian would invest in revitalizing this area." "What happens to us?" someone shouted from the middle of the room. Vincent's smile didn't waver. "Meridian will provide 90 days' notice and relocation assistance." 90 days? A woman stood up. Marcus recognized her. LaShonda from Building 3, a single mother with 4 kids. "Where are we supposed to go in 90 days? Do you know what rent costs in this city?" "The relocation assistance," Vincent started. "Is bullshit," someone else yelled. The room erupted. People shouting, demanding answers, voices overlapping. Marcus watched Simone. She was standing very still, her face pale, her eyes fixed on some point above the crowd's heads. Vincent tried to regain control. "If we could all just—" "When?" Marcus heard himself say. The room quieted slightly. Vincent turned toward him. "I'm sorry?" Marcus stood up. "When does the sale go through?" Vincent glanced at Simone, then back at Marcus. "Contracts are being finalized. We expect to close by January 15th. January 15th. 3 weeks. And we have no say in this?" Marcus asked, his voice steady despite the rage building in his chest. "This is a private property transaction," Vincent said smoothly. "Mrs. Price has been more than generous in maintaining affordable rent for years, but the buildings are simply no longer financially viable." "That's a lie." The voice came from the front row. Mr. Johnson, a retired teacher who'd lived in Building 3 for 20 years, stood up. "I've seen the books. Gerald showed me last month when we were discussing the electrical problems. These buildings are profitable. Maybe not as profitable as luxury condos, but they make money." Vincent's smile finally faltered. "Mr. Johnson, I don't think—" "You're pushing her to sell," Mr. Johnson said, looking directly at Simone. "Aren't you?" Simone's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. My husband built these buildings as affordable housing, she said finally, her voice quiet but clear. That was his intention. Your husband is dead, Vincent said, and the room went silent. And with all due respect, Simone, you're not a real estate developer. You're overwhelmed. You've said so yourself. This sale is the best option. Simone's face flushed, but she didn't argue. Marcus felt something crack inside him. He recognized that look, the same look she'd had on the side of the road, scared, alone, being pushed into something she didn't want. What if we don't want to sell? Marcus said. Vincent turned to him with barely concealed annoyance. I'm sorry, you are? Marcus Thompson, Building 4. And I'm asking, what if the tenants organize? What if we fight this? Vincent laughed. Actually laughed. Mr. Thompson, this isn't a democracy. Mrs. Price owns the buildings. What the tenants want is irrelevant. Not if she doesn't want to sell, Marcus said, looking directly at Simone. Do you want to sell? Everyone turned to look at her. Simone stood there, trapped between Vincent's expectant glare and hundreds of eyes waiting for an answer. She started, then stopped. This meeting is over. She turned and walked out. Vincent swore under his breath and followed her. Gerald Moss cleared his throat. We'll keep you updated. The room exploded into chaos again. People shouting questions, arguing, some crying. Marcus didn't wait. He walked out and followed the direction Simone had gone. He found her in the parking lot, standing beside a silver Mercedes, the same one from last night. Vincent was beside her, talking rapidly, his hands gesturing. Can't let them bully you into... I need a minute, Simone said. Simone, we have a timeline. I said I need a minute. Vincent's jaw clenched. Fine, I'll be in the car. He stalked off toward a black BMW parked nearby. Simone stood there alone, her shoulders rigid, her hands shaking slightly. Marcus approached slowly. Simone. She turned and her eyes were wet. You live here. Yeah? I didn't know. Last night I didn't. She stopped. You're 2 months behind on rent. Marcus felt shame burn through him. I know. I'm working on it. You have twin daughters, Zara and Amara, 7 years old. You looked me up. Vincent looked up everyone who's behind on rent. He's building a case for why we should sell. Simone's voice cracked. You helped me last night. You changed my tire at midnight and I didn't even know. I was about to destroy your life. You haven't destroyed anything yet. Vincent says. Vincent doesn't live here, Marcus said. Vincent doesn't know what it's like to count out change to buy groceries, to choose between paying the electric bill or buying your kid's inhaler. He doesn't know what it's like to lie awake at night wondering where your family's going to sleep if you lose your home. Simone was crying now, tears streaming down her brown face. I don't want to do this. I don't want to sell. But Richard left everything so complicated, and Vincent says if I don't sell, the buildings will fail anyway because they need so much work, and I don't know how to... She broke off, sobbing. Marcus did something he probably shouldn't have. He stepped forward and put his arms around her. Simone stiffened for a second, then collapsed against him, her whole body shaking. I can't do this, she whispered into his chest. I don't know how to do any of this. Marcus held her, this woman who owned his building, who held his future in her hands, and he realized something. She was just as scared as he was. Then don't, Marcus said quietly. Don't sell. Vincent says. Vincent doesn't get to decide. You do. Simone pulled back, wiping her eyes. You don't understand. The buildings need repairs I can't afford. The electrical system alone would cost over $200,000 to replace. Richard had insurance, but his business partner... She stopped. Vincent was supposed to handle all of this. I don't know anything about real estate. So learn. Simone laughed bitterly. Just like that? Yeah, just like that. Marcus looked at her. You said your husband built these as affordable housing, that it was his intention. What would he want you to do? Simone's face crumpled. He'd want me to fight, then fight. Behind them, Vincent honked the BMW's horn. Simone looked toward the car, then back at Marcus. "I have to go." "Simone." "Thank you," she said. "For last night, for today, for—" She stopped. "I'm sorry about your rent. I'll make sure nothing happens until I figure this out." She got in her car and drove away. Marcus stood in the parking lot and watched her leave, feeling like something important had just shifted. He just didn't know what. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. That night, Marcus worked his overnight shift at the warehouse. He moved boxes on autopilot, his mind replaying the meeting, the conversation in the parking lot, the way Simone had felt in his arms, small and frightened despite all her wealth and power. At 3 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello?" "Marcus, it's Simone." His heart kicked. "How did you get my number?" "Gerald gave it to me. I hope that's okay." "It's fine. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. She paused. "I can't sleep. I keep thinking about what you said. About fighting." Marcus walked away from his station, finding a quiet corner near the loading dock. "Okay." I looked at the files. Really looked at them. The buildings aren't failing. They're profitable. Not hugely, but they're stable. Vincent's been pushing the sale because Meridian offered him a finder's fee, 10% of the sale price. Marcus did the math. That's millions. 3.2 million to be exact. Jesus. "He's been lying to me," Simone said, her voice shaking with anger. "For 6 months, he's been lying to me, telling me the buildings are a liability, that they're costing me money. But they're not. Richard was making nearly $400,000 a year in profit from Riverside alone." "So, what are you going to do?" Silence. Then, "I don't know. I fired Vincent an hour ago. Called him and told him I was done. But I still don't know what I'm doing. I've never run a real estate business. But you ran a nonprofit. That's different." "Is it? You managed budgets, dealt with properties, hired people. Sounds pretty similar to me." Simone laughed, and it sounded like relief. "You always this optimistic?" "I'm a single dad raising twin daughters in a building with electrical problems. Optimism is a survival skill." "Marcus?" Her voice went soft. "Why did you stop last night?" "Really?" Marcus thought about it. "Because my wife used to say that the world only stays good if good people keep showing up. And I promised her I'd keep showing up." He heard Simone's breath catch. "She sounds like she was an amazing person." "She was." "I'd like to meet your daughters sometime, if that's okay." Marcus's chest tightened. "Yeah, I think they'd like that." They talked for another 20 minutes. About nothing important. About everything important. About grief and fear and what it meant to keep going when you didn't know how. When they finally hung up, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Monday morning came with unexpected news. Marcus woke to his phone ringing at 7:30 a.m. He fumbled for it, his body protesting from the overnight shift. "Hello? Mr. Thompson, this is Gerald Moss. I'm calling to inform you that your rent arrears have been forgiven." Marcus sat up so fast his vision blurred. "What?" "Mrs. Price called me at 6 a.m. this morning. She's forgiving all late rent for tenants who are currently behind due to documented hardship. That includes you. Your account is clear." Marcus couldn't speak. "She's also ordered immediate repairs to the electrical system in all 6 buildings. Work starts Wednesday." "I don't understand." Gerald's voice warmed slightly. "Between you and me, I think you gave her a reason to fight. Whatever you said to her yesterday, keep saying it." After Gerald hung up, Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, staring at nothing. The girls burst in seconds later, already dressed for school. "Daddy," You're still in bed, Zara accused. We're going to be late, Amara added. Marcus pulled them both into a hug so tight they squeaked in protest. Daddy, you're squishing us. I love you both so much, he said into their hair. You know that, right? We know, Daddy, Zara said, patting his shoulder. But we still need breakfast. He made them scrambled eggs and toast, packed their lunches, and walked them to the bus stop. As they climbed aboard, both girls waved through the window, their faces bright with innocent joy. Marcus waved back, and for the first time in 2 years he felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. That afternoon, Marcus's phone rang again. Simone. Hey, he answered. Hi. She sounded nervous. Are you busy? Just got up. Worked overnight. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have. Simone, it's fine. What's going on? I need your help, she said, with something that's probably going to sound crazy. 20 minutes later, Marcus was standing outside a coffee shop in the downtown business district wearing his cleanest jeans and a button-down shirt he'd ironed twice. Simone was already there, sitting by the window. She looked different in daylight, still polished, but there was color in her cheeks now. Energy in her eyes? Thank you for coming, she said as he slid into the booth across from her. Thank you for clearing my rent. Simone shook her head. That wasn't charity. That was correcting an injustice. Vincent had been raising rents every year without making the necessary repairs. That's not how Richard would have wanted things run. Still, thank you. A waitress came over and they both ordered coffee. When she left, Simone pulled out a folder. I've been going through everything, she said. All of Richard's properties, all the contracts, all the financials, and I found something. She opened the folder and slid a document across the table. This is the original deed for Riverside. Richard bought the land and built those buildings specifically to create affordable housing. He put a clause in the deed, a covenant that restricts the property's use to affordable housing in perpetuity. Marcus scanned the document. What does that mean? It means I can't sell to Meridian Group. Their entire business model is luxury development. They can't use the property for what they want to do with it. So the sale is off? Not exactly. Simone's expression darkened. Meridian's lawyers found a loophole. If the buildings are declared structurally unsound or unsafe, the covenant can be nullified and the property rezoned. Marcus felt ice in his stomach. The electrical problems. Exactly. Vincent's been neglecting repairs deliberately, trying to build a case that the buildings are failing. That's criminal. It's also effective. I got a notice this morning from the city building inspector. Anonymous complaint filed last week. They're coming to do a full inspection on Friday. If they find code violations, and they will, because Vincent's been ignoring them for months, they can condemn the buildings. How long do we have? Simone looked at him. 4 days to fix everything that's wrong with 6 buildings. Marcus let out a low whistle. That's impossible. I know. The electrical alone. $200,000. I can cover it. I liquidated some stocks this morning. What about everything else? Plumbing? Structural issues? The roofs? Simone pulled out another document. I had an inspector come out this morning. Here's the list. Marcus read through it. His construction experience from helping friends with side jobs told him this was a massive undertaking. You'd need a crew of at least 20 people working around the clock. Can you help me find them? Marcus looked up at her. You want me to? You know the buildings. You know the tenants. You have construction experience. I saw your resume in the tenant files. You worked construction before the warehouse job. For 6 months. I'm not a contractor. But you know people who are, and you care about keeping these buildings standing. Simone leaned forward. Marcus, I can't do this alone. I have the money, but I don't know who to trust. Everyone I've talked to wants to overcharge me or tell me it's impossible. I need someone who has a stake in this working. Marcus thought about Zara and Amara, about Mrs. Chen and LaShonda and Mr. Johnson, about the 50 families living in Riverside who were 4 days away from losing their homes. Okay, he said. I'm in. Simone's whole face lit up. Really? Really? But we need to move fast. I know a guy, Mason Cruz. He was my supervisor when I worked construction. He runs an independent crew. If anyone can pull this off, it's him. Call him. Marcus pulled out his phone. Mason answered on the third ring. Ward, that you? Yeah, it's me. Mason, I need a favor. A big one. By Tuesday morning, Mason and his crew of 18 men were on site at Riverside. Marcus had negotiated the rate, $50,000 for 4 days of round-the-clock work. Simone didn't hesitate. She wired the money within an hour. The work began immediately. Electricians tearing out the old wiring, plumbers replacing corroded pipes, roofers patching leaks, structural engineers shoring up weak foundations. Marcus took a week off from the warehouse, unpaid, but Ray understood. He worked alongside Mason's crew, doing whatever was needed, hauling materials, running errands, coordinating between buildings. Simone was there too, every day. She showed up at 6 a.m. in jeans and work boots, her hair tied back, ready to help however she could. The tenants noticed. By Tuesday afternoon, Mrs. Chen had organized a rotation of people bringing food for the workers. LaShonda set up a donation box and collected $1,200 from tenants who wanted to help pay for supplies. Mr. Johnson started a phone tree to keep everyone updated. The community was coming together. On Tuesday night, Marcus and Simone were sitting on the front steps of Building 4, eating takeout Chinese food that Mrs. Chen had brought them. It was 11 p.m. and they were both exhausted. "This is insane," Simone said, laughing. "Yeah, we're never going to finish in time." "Probably not." Simone looked at him. "Why are you smiling?" "Because even if we don't finish, we tried. That's more than most people would do." Simone set down her food. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why aren't you angry with me?" Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" "I own the buildings that have been falling apart around you. I'm the reason your power kept going out. I'm the reason you were 2 months behind on rent. You didn't know. That doesn't make it okay." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You know what I've learned in the last 2 years? Being angry at people for things they can't control is exhausting. You didn't know what Vincent was doing, but when you found out, you acted. That's what matters." Simone's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve you. You barely know me. I know you stopped to help a stranger at midnight. I know you stood up for your neighbors in that meeting. I know you took a week off work, unpaid, to help save a building you don't even own." Simone wiped her eyes. "I know enough." Marcus didn't know what to say to that, so he just reached over and took her hand. They sat there on the steps, holding hands, watching Mason's crew work through the night. And something shifted between them. Something that had been building since that first moment on Route 9. Wednesday was chaos. The electrical work hit a snag. The main panel in Building 2 was completely fried and needed to be replaced. That alone would take 2 days. They had one. Marcus called every electrical supply company in the city. Nothing. The part was back-ordered everywhere. At 2 p.m., Simone made a phone call. Marcus didn't know who she called, but 30 minutes later, a helicopter landed in the Riverside parking lot. An actual helicopter. The pilot handed Simone a box. Inside was the electrical panel. "Friend of my husband's," Simone explained at Marcus's shocked expression. "He owns a construction supply company in Chicago. Had it flown in. You flew in a part by helicopter. We need it now. This was faster than ground shipping." Marcus started laughing. He couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all. The helicopter, the mad scramble, this wealthy woman covered in dust and grime working alongside tenants who could barely afford rent. "What's funny?" Simone asked, but she was smiling. "Nothing. Everything. You're incredible. You know that." Simone's smile softened. "So are you." That night the twins met Simone. Marcus hadn't planned it, but he'd been at the site for 3 days straight and the girls were starting to complain. Mrs. Chen suggested he bring them by for an hour. They showed up at 6 p.m. with drawings they'd made at school. When they saw all the work happening, their eyes went wide. "Daddy, what's going on?" Zara asked. "We're fixing the buildings, baby." "Why?" "So nobody has to move away." Amara spotted Simone talking to Mason near Building 3. "Who's that lady?" "Her name is Simone. She owns the buildings." Both girls stared. "She's pretty," Zara whispered. "Yeah, she is," Marcus said without thinking. Simone noticed them and walked over. When she saw the twins, her whole face transformed. "You must be Zara and Amara," she said, kneeling down to their level. "Your dad talks about you all the time." "He does?" Amara asked shyly. "Constantly. He says you're the smartest, funniest, most amazing girls in the whole world." Zara giggled. "Daddy's biased." "Maybe, but I think he might be right." Amara held out a drawing. "I made this. It's a picture of our apartment. See? That's Daddy, and that's me and Zara, and that's the broken light that kept going off." Simone took the drawing carefully. "This is beautiful, Amara. Can I keep it?" Amara nodded solemnly. "You can put it in your office." "I will, right on my desk." Zara pulled out her drawing. "I drew the playground. See the swings? That's my favorite." "The swings are the best part," Simone agreed. Then, gently, "What if we fixed the playground too? Made it really nice?" Both girls gasped. "Really?" they said in unison. "Really. After we're done with the buildings. New swings, new slide, maybe some climbing equipment. What do you think?" The girls threw themselves at Simone, hugging her so hard she nearly fell over. Marcus watched Simone hug his daughter's back, watched her laugh with genuine joy, and felt something in his chest crack wide open. He was falling for her. Maybe he'd been falling since that first night on Route 9. But watching her with his girls, seeing how naturally she connected with them, how much she cared, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, he knew. This was more than gratitude, more than attraction. This was something real. Thursday was the longest day of Marcus's life. The city inspector was coming Friday at 9 a.m. They had less than 24 hours to finish everything. By Thursday evening, they were close. The electrical was done. The plumbing was done. The roofs were patched. The structural repairs were complete. But Building 5 had a problem. A major problem. The foundation had a crack that nobody had noticed until now. A structural engineer examined it and delivered the news. It would take 3 days to properly repair. They had 12 hours. Mason pulled Marcus aside. "We can patch it temporarily, make it look stable for the inspection, but it won't last. 6 months, maybe a year, and it'll need real work." "That's not good enough," Marcus said. "It's all we've got." Marcus found Simone in the community room, going over inspection checklists. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, her hands shaking slightly as she wrote. "Simone." She looked up. "What's wrong?" He told her about the foundation. Simone's face went pale. "Can we fix it?" "Not in 12 hours, not properly." "But the inspection." "I know." Simone stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the buildings. "Richard used to say that integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest when things go wrong." Marcus waited. "We tell the inspector the truth," Simone said, "about the foundation, about everything, and we ask for an extension to fix it properly. They might condemn the building anyway." "Then they do, but at least we'll know we did the right thing." Marcus walked over and stood beside her. "You're sure?" "No, but it's the only choice I can live with." Friday morning, Building Inspector Carla Washington arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. She was a black woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She spent 4 hours going through every building with a fine-tooth comb. Marcus and Simone followed her, answering questions, providing documentation. When she got to Building 5, Simone stopped her. "Before you go in, there's something you should know." Simone explained about the foundation crack, about discovering it too late, about the temporary patch that wouldn't last. Inspector Washington's expression was unreadable. "You're telling me you deliberately didn't complete the repairs?" "We're telling you we discovered a problem we can't fix in time and we're asking for a 30-day extension to repair it properly." "That's not how this works." "I know, but it's the truth." Inspector Washington studied Simone for a long moment. Then she said, "Show me." They showed her the crack, the temporary patch, the engineer's report. Inspector Washington took photos, made notes, and didn't say a word. When the inspection was finally complete, she gathered Marcus, Simone, and Mason in the community room. "Here's my assessment," she said. "Buildings 1 through 4 and Building 6 are in compliance. The work you've done is excellent. Above standard, actually." Simone's hand found Marcus's under the table. "Building 5 has a structural issue that needs to be addressed. However," Inspector Washington paused, "given that you disclosed it voluntarily, and given that you have a licensed engineer's plan for proper repairs, I'm issuing a conditional pass. You have 60 days to complete the foundation work. I'll inspect again on January 30th. Simone nearly collapsed with relief. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank your contractor." Inspector Washington nodded at Mason. "And whatever you're paying this man, double it. This is some of the best emergency repair work I've seen in 30 years. After Inspector Washington left, the community room erupted in cheers. The tenants who'd been waiting outside rushed in, celebrating. Mrs. Chen was crying. LaShonda was hugging everyone. Mr. Johnson was shaking Mason's hand so hard it looked painful. Marcus found Simone in the middle of it all, surrounded by grateful families, and watched her laugh and cry and hug complete strangers who were thanking her for saving their homes. She looked up, caught his eye across the room, and smiled. And Marcus smiled back, feeling like maybe, just maybe, they'd actually pulled it off. That night, after the celebration died down, Marcus walked Simone to her car. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "You could have. You're stronger than you think." Simone leaned against her Mercedes. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What happens now?" "You fix the foundation in Building 5. You keep running the properties. You prove that affordable housing can work." "I meant with us." Marcus's heart kicked. "What do you want to happen?" Simone looked at him, and in her eyes was everything she couldn't say. Fear and hope and longing all mixed together. "I want to have dinner with you and your daughters," she said softly. "I want to keep getting to know you. I want to see where this goes." "Even though I'm a warehouse worker who lives in your building?" "Especially because you're a warehouse worker who lives in my building, who stopped to help a stranger, who fought for his neighbors, who raised 2 incredible little girls on his own." Simone stepped closer. "Who made me remember what it feels like to hope." Marcus reached out and cupped her face gently. "Simone Price, would you like to have dinner with me and my daughters tomorrow night?" "Yes," she whispered. He kissed her, soft and careful and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Simone was smiling. "I should go." "Yeah, but I'll see you tomorrow? 6 p.m. Our apartment. Fair warning, the girls will probably interrogate you." Simone laughed. "I look forward to it." She got in her car and drove away, and Marcus stood in the parking lot feeling like his whole life had just shifted on its axis. He was falling in love with his landlord, and somehow, against all odds, she might be falling for him too. The playground at Riverside Apartments was packed. New swings gleamed in the June sunshine. A modern climbing structure had replaced the old monkey bars. The sandbox was actually sand again, clean and fresh. And in the center of it all was a brand new basketball court. Marcus pushed Zara on the swings while Amara showed Simone how high she could climb on the new equipment. "Be careful, baby," Marcus called out. "I got her," Simone said, standing beneath the climbing structure with her arms out. 6 months ago, Marcus wouldn't have believed this was possible. But here they were. The foundation in Building 5 had been properly repaired. All 6 buildings were now fully up to code. Simone had hired a new property management company, one that actually cared about maintenance. She'd started a tenant council that met monthly to discuss issues and improvements. And she'd hired Marcus as the community liaison. Full-time, benefits, salary of $55,000 a year. He'd cried when she offered him the job, actually cried, because it meant he didn't have to work overnight shifts anymore, meant he could be home for breakfast with his girls every single morning. "Higher, Daddy," Zara squealed. Marcus pushed her higher, watching her fly, her laughter cutting through the warm air. Simone climbed down from the structure with Amara, both of them grinning. The girls had taken to Simone immediately. They called her Miss Simone, and she showed up for dinner at least 3 times a week, often staying late to help with homework or read bedtime stories. Last week, Amar had asked Marcus if Miss Simone could be their new mommy. Marcus hadn't known how to answer that. Not yet. But watching Simone with his daughters, seeing how naturally they fit together, he was starting to think maybe it wasn't such an impossible idea. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Zara announced, jumping off the swing. "Me too," Amara added. "How about we all go get pizza?" Simone suggested. "Yes," both girls shouted. At the pizza place, Zara and Amara insisted Simone sit between them in the booth. They told her about school, about their friends, about the art project they were working on. Marcus sat across from them, watching, his heart so full it hurt. After dinner, they walked back to the apartment. The girls ran ahead, chasing each other down the sidewalk. Simone slipped her hand into Marcus's. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For giving me a family. For giving me a purpose. For giving me a reason to keep going." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You gave me those things too." They walked in comfortable silence, listening to the girls' laughter ahead. "Marcus," Simone said. "Yeah?" "I love you." Marcus stopped walking, turned to face her. "Say that again." "I love you," Simone repeated, her brown eyes shining. "I've been trying to figure out when to tell you, and I realized I didn't want to wait anymore. I love you. I love your daughters. I love the life we're building together." Marcus pulled her close and kissed her, right there on the sidewalk while the summer sun set behind them. "I love you too," he said against her lips. "So much." "Daddy and Miss Simone are kissing," Zara yelled from down the block. "Gross," Amara added, but she was giggling. Marcus and Simone broke apart, laughing. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, Marcus and Simone sat on the couch in his small living room. Her head was on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About that night on Route 9. About how I almost drove past you." "I'm glad you didn't." "Me too." Marcus pressed a kiss to her hair. "You changed my life, Simone Price." "You changed mine first." They sat there in the quiet, holding each other, listening to the sounds of the building around them. The building that had almost been destroyed. The building that was now home. Somewhere down the hall, Mrs. Chen was arguing with her grandson about bedtime. Above them, someone was playing music. Outside, cars passed and the city hummed with life. And in this small apartment, in this aging building, Marcus Thompson held the woman he loved and thought about how sometimes the worst nights turn into the best stories. Sometimes a flat tire is exactly what you need to find the person you're meant to spend your life with. And sometimes family finds you when you're brave enough to stop and help a stranger. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.